Guess it was inevitable. We'd end up on the same side.
Hello, everyone. I am Perri Nemiroff with Rotten Tomatoes, and I am in my happy place. I'm talking to my favorite people about one of my favorite shows, Cobra Kai, Season 6, Part 3. Congratulations on the big finale.
Thank you.
This is our happy place too. We all cheer every time they're like, Perry's coming down the hall. We literally all got up from our chairs and ran out there in hopes of seeing you.
I'm glad you feel that way because you are never shaking me after this show. I will follow all of you to all of your projects. We're going to talk about a lot of the details today. It's going to be a spoiler-heavy conversation, but I did want to start with one non-spoiler question for all of you, because after all these years of working on this show, I am curious, what was your experience like reading these final scripts for the first time? Is it something you wanted to do privately, have a conversation with like your show-running trio about, or maybe just all sit together and do a table read?
We have no time to do table reads on this show. There's no time for that. That would have been fun, like all reading these last few together.
Yeah.
You're lucky if we read them before we start recording.
And Quan is dead.
We did mini table reads at our crib. I feel like
you guys did?
we were fortunate.
I read your part, by the way.
I was gonna say,
it would genuinely be like Gianni, Jacob, and I just being like, oh my God, can you believe this?
Well, as soon as they came out, we all rushed to our emails just like dying to find out what happened because they wouldn't tell us what was going on.
I also wouldn't tell when it would release. So I'd be on set and Mary would be like, did you guys read it? Like, wait,
I was about to say, I was terrified of getting a spoiler from one of them before I got a chance to read it.
Yeah.
So as soon as they would come in, I would be like just devouring the script like as fast as humanly possible. Like I can't speed read, but in those moments I feel that I can. And I'm like flying through it just because I know that if I don't, then I would go to set and Jacob would be like, so you see who died? I'm like, Jacob, dude.
Wait, I have to follow up. So the three of you would read the scripts together. I'm curious for each of you, is there any particular character on the show that was like more fun for you to play during those reads together than you ever could have imagined?
Dude, Kyler's lines are so fun to read.
I like Quan.
Yeah. I just liked hearing Jacob play Ralph. I thought that was pretty good.
Oh, I cannot.
It's really good, man. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for you, I think,
I got put you on the spot. Can I get one Ralph line?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, I got to think of one.
I love the pressure being on.
I'm just having such a hard time.
Dude, when he throws his bicycle in the trash?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you read the original film script?
A lot of the lines are like, Johnny, I love you. I've been wanting to say this for a long time. You know. And then Ralph uses the notes, and then that doesn't make it in.
You know.
We were going to get him to ADR this time for season 6, but...
In an alt universe, you all remake the entire show and everybody swaps roles.
That's it.
Oh my God.
Maybe.
That would be
I don't
fun.
know. I want the spin-off series, so let's put a pause on that idea.
I would like to see Ralph do Hawk.
I'd love to see you and Marty swap roles. Now I'm not going to forget that.
Here's my first set. My hands on my collar.
Yes, that's right. So like this.
Oh, I have so many Creese questions for you, so I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to put up the spoiler warning. If you have not watched Cobra Kai in its entirety, all 6 seasons in full, this is where I say goodbye. You go binge it, then you come back to this video and you push play, and it starts again right here. All right, Ralph, I'm coming your way first because I have to ask about the Miyagi scene in episode 13. 2 questions about that. First, I'm curious your reaction to reading that for the first time, because when you do something like that, the pressure is through the roof. You absolutely have to get something like that right. So what were some of your biggest burning questions for John, Josh, and Hayden, your show-running trio, about, how you would pull that off and pull it off right?
Well, we had early discussions about that. And for a few seasons, I've been asking for, places to mine more of a connection to Miyagi and growth going forward. And certainly in this season with the Miyagi box of secrets and the spiral down into the pit of misunderstanding or trying to come to grips with who Mr. Miyagi was as a full person was a big part of Daniel's narrative. So I've always said I wanted to have a scene somewhere, and they were ahead of me as always, but we were in sync on having a scene where I wanted to have Miyagi fighting side by side with Daniel. I wanted to have that moment. And so the A side to that was in 610, having the nightmare scene, and then the B side in 613, which I affectionately call Cobra Cry. If you've seen the episode, or when you see it, you'll know why. Everybody has their shot. And so it was about being truthful, like, you know, if someone loses a parent or their mentor or wants to have that last conversation with their dad or feels lost at any age, you can have that moment back. So for Daniel, what's beautiful about it is it's all in his mind, even though we see it playing out. And then we have the pop culture elements of the skeletons and the homage to the skeleton fight from the original film. And that's what John, Josh, and Hayden and the whole staff of writers do so well, is peppering all that stuff through. So it's such fandom and fan service, but yet it serves the narrative. So for me, you know, we were toward the end. I think you guys were there that night, and Tanner and Mary, and both my kids were there that night. And it was the emotion just came up. And Don Lee, our fight coordinator and choreographer, did the Miyagi part of it, and just stood there and felt he was so proud to be the face that I got to look into and play this scene that. You know, it's not easy. I can get emotional now thinking of Pat Morita, thinking of wanting to be that teenage boy within this man who needs his father figure. And then, you know, it's just about playing truth. For actors, it's about playing truth. Any of the challenges in the show, anytime I would go back to the guys and I would have trouble, it's when I felt the dialogue wasn't truthful. This was not the case.
Feels so truthful in the end.
Yeah.
When you say we can't win,
Yeah.
my heart shattered
It's
into
sweet.
a million pieces.
No,
It's so good.
It's sweet. We initially wanted to cut to a younger Daniel LaRusso, which I would have liked to have had. It was technologically or budgetarily weren't able to do that, because that's so Karate Kid to have him receive the lesson. But the scene really works well. And then we're in the scene where Daniel is with his daughter. So it's an extension of that, and that lesson gets passed on. And she's 2 steps ahead of him at that point. They do a great job, and it's one of the highlight episodes, I think, in the final 5.
Beautiful scene. I also love the payoff of the necklace. I thought that wrapped up quite nicely. I'll go from that serious scene to something a little more fun, because I always love me a training montage in this series, in the movies. So what would you say is your single favorite part of shooting that training montage with Billy?
Yeah, it was all great. It was all. I mean, driving the 47-4 down Ventura Boulevard was cool. That was in another section. That's in the opening of 614, I think. But the montage, running up Ventura Boulevard on a Sunday afternoon in the headbands and all this stuff, it's just crazy. But being on the beach, ending the show, the last shot, I don't want to chew up too much time, but this is a good story. October 31st, 1983, first scene I shot in the original film was on the beach in California. Johnny Lawrence on his motorcycle comes down, kicks the crap out of LaRusso, leaves him face first in the sand. I forget the exact day, but the last day of shooting on Cobra Kai, beach in California, Johnny Lawrence and Daniel running, laughing, playing in the surf, hugging it out. They all cut, and we both shed a few tears of joy of what this journey was for us.
It's meant to be. I love it. Ralph, and also I'll throw this to you, Xolo, because Billy is obviously not here. He's a major force in the show, and he has so many scenes in these last episodes that are just like top tier.
He knocks it out of the
Anyone
park.
feel free to jump in, but I'll throw it to the two of you because you share some pretty pivotal moments with him. So you obviously already have sky-high expectations for his work. You know how talented he is, but given how incredible certain scenes are in these last episodes, is there anything you saw him do on set that like made even you go, like, my God, this is above and beyond anything I ever thought you were capable of?
He's been like that the whole series. He nails it on so many levels in these final episodes. It's such a moment for Johnny Lawrence's arc. It's really special, and I've always said it about Billy. He stepped up to the plate in this opportunity in Cobra Kai in season 1 And, very often as actors, you wait that time to get up to the plate and you try to hit a 5-run home run. And he's never done that. He knew when to go the other way. He knew when to swing for the fences. He knew when to bunt it down the third base line. And all those levels and layers are in his performance. And the beauty in the end of this thing, and then I will shut up and let these amazingly talented kids talk, is that, the beauty in 6:15 in the end of the show is that they need each other to succeed, and they can't succeed without each other. And that's really a credit to the writing and certainly his, everyone's performance. But
Beautifully said.
yeah, okay. Kids talk.
Xolo, you want to add
Or
anything?
younger people.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you said it so well, Ralph. The only thing that I'll add was that getting to see both Ralph and Billy direct, I think, was a totally different side that really solidified how deep their hands are in the kitchen of this franchise. Like getting to bear witness to what their vision of the world looks like and how they speak to us, how they interact, and all of that, I think was just testament to how right all of this is. Kind of the plane landing now, all of this coming together all these years later. It just was really nice to get to explore, to have new things to explore with these characters that they've known for so long.
I love that. So, Xolo, I'll stick with you for a little longer here because I got to talk about this Axel fight. Big question about that. Of all the really ambitious fights you've done over the course of your run in Cobra Kai, which single one was the most challenging for you to film, and how did this Axel fight compare?
I mean, maybe the school fight was the hardest. Like, technically, I was really young, and there were so many moving pieces. This fight with Axel, we did a couple of, I think one take, a stunt pass of the whole fight all the way through, from the beginning to the end, and that really killed me. Already by the first beat, cardio was kicking my butt, but we were joking around about it. Like, I walked over to the sidelines for our break time and was like, yo, this is a real fight. And,
I am tired.
I was kicking my butt. I mean, I have to give credit and thanks to not only our fantastic stunt team, but specifically Matt and Patrick, the Axel and the greater Axel, team for the stunts, because they had just gotten off of filming how many 1,000? How many beats was your fight? It felt like 1,000 something.
Me and Patrick's, Robbie and Axel's fight was like 120 something beats, and we learned it and performed it in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then Patrick had to go and learn your guys' fight, which was about 50 to 75 beats longer than ours, which you guys then only had like 36 to 48 hours to learn it and then perform it.
Is there like an average number of beats I can compare it to?
I think when we has talked to our stunt team, what is normal usually is around 40 or 50.
I don't know if that number applies to Cobra Kai in general.
No.
Can't
Normal
think
for
of a
them.
Not
fight
Cobra
we've
Kai.
had that's been 40 or 50 beats.
No, we're always over it.
Like, that's usually like a segment, but to to have a whole fight laid out from beginning to end, it's ambitious, but everyone, like, what I appreciated so much is even in this 6th season, we added some new folk. Raina, Brandon, Quan, Patrick, Axel, and all of these people were so game to like jump into the double dutch and be like, oh my gosh. Even Brandon and Raina, who have been studying this their whole life and are world champions, were coming onto our set being like, oh my God, how do you do that? Which honestly was a little bit
validating. It was so validating.
Oh my gosh, like, we're struggling and you guys are struggling as well. Like, oof, okay, we're making it happen.
I want to ask one more question about that scene, because you just gave a whole bunch of shout outs, but I also need to shout out whoever edited that particular sequence in the show, because it really is beautifully cut between the fight with Axel and also Miguel's past. So what was it like watching the finished version of that for the first time?
When you film it, like the making of the sausage totally takes you out, I guess, because we're filming like at slow-mo, and I have Hayden Schlossberg off on the other side of the camera being like, all right, you're sweaty, and these are the final punches, determination.
Hayden's direction.
And I'm kind of there like, okay, we're doing this. But then you see the final product, and I'm like, yeah, That's exactly what he said.
I
There
was
was like determination there and scared here. To really dive deeper, I think what I love so much is that it shows that the whole journey matters. Like you need the ups and the downs to get across, and all of these characters go through some tough times. But in the end, you see like it's those same tough times that are what you remember in the new tough times.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I have so many questions that I think do build upon that point. Peyton, first for you, I have to ask obviously about the Zara fight. The particular question I want to ask you though, because I love in the middle of that fight, the pep talk that Robbie gives her. Can you kind of tell me a little bit about some priorities you had for her fighting style before that conversation and after, so we see how it influences her for the better?
Definitely. I know before it, Zara is just gives her that little speech right before they start the fight. So she's definitely not in her right state of mind. And whenever she's the most angry is when she's not fighting her best. So we definitely wanted to have her fighting dirty and just not have her head in it, just kind of missing and just taking hits, so that it's very clear that when she comes back, she gets a pep talk from Gianni and Robbie, her head's back in it, and she's balanced. She's bringing on those Miyagi-Do moves. And so I even talked to Mary about bringing in Samantha LaRusso's Miyagi iconic stance that she used in the season 4 All Valley tournament, just to pay it back. And Sam gives up the fight for Tori, so to kind of, give some love to them as well.
To build to something else. And then how satisfying is it for you to be able to tell Zara, welcome to the Valley, word I cannot say here.
Oh my gosh. I was like, we're really saying that, huh? We're really doing that? Okay. You know what? In this case, that's the one case where it did feel very, very satisfying.
I needed her to have that moment. It felt so good as a fan of the character. Yes.
Good.
I needed her to have that moment. Tanner, I'm going to ask you about a very specific line delivery as well, because you get to say no effing mercy to Peyton there too. And with that particular moment, I'm very curious about figuring out the right tone for a line like that. Why did it feel important to, be more playful and say it with a smirk rather than deliver it with intensity so she goes and crushes her opponent?
First off, as soon as I saw that line, I had so much anxiety revolving around that. I was like, this is the one line I can't screw up because this is going to live forever. And if I get it wrong, so many fans are going to be so angry at me. But looking at it, it felt like, well, you have that sweet moment, though, too, finally, looking at somebody and somebody who has also been through a lot of this, it seems like similar situations as characters, having a hard time and going and say, hey, it almost takes it back. I thought about a lot was at the beginning of the season, where it feels like even though I'm out of the tournament, it's us looking at each other going, it's you and me standing up there. Mm-hmm. And that's what that felt like, of all right, this, instead of saying it's you and me standing up there, let's just go and finish this. Just simple words of no mercy. Something we both know that's familiar, but, kind of saying, hey, you got this, and making that feel good rather than going back to the old lessons that maybe would have just didn't really work in the past. But, it's just something new.
I love when I hear an answer like that and I could be like, I felt that while I watched it. I have to ask you the biggest question I could possibly ask you now that we could talk about spoilers. What was it like when you read these scripts and you realized that ultimately his journey would end in a loss? And why did that feel right for the character?
Tanner, the first time reading it didn't feel right. I really wanted to win. But reading it over and seeing how Robbie's journey, he's made a lot of mistakes, Johnny's made a lot of mistakes, and to have that growth of accepting where he is and the new human that he is and how he's grown so much, that is the win. He doesn't need that. He doesn't need that tournament win. That's not the priority. His win is I've gotten my life together. I have a relationship with my dad. I found something that gave me purpose. I have 2 senseis that have done nothing but help me. I have a great family life now. I have a girlfriend that is so supportive, and it's just to him, his life is more than what I think he ever imagined it would be. And to me, that's the win that he gets. So that's satisfying enough for me.
And those moments inform the the legacy characters of Johnny and Daniel, be it Samantha or Robbie or Miguel. I mean, it informs them because they see. I think Johnny says something to that effect. Henley better than I would, and same thing. So that's just good smart writing.
The way you all hold tight to like certain themes and ideas from the past, but have the new characters grow from them. It's so well done.
Right.
I also just really appreciated, I said this to you briefly yesterday, how the end of the show recontextualizes both losing and also quitting. So Mary, I'm coming to you next. What was it like finding out how Sam's journey in the tournament would end? And what were some priorities you had in terms of basically saying that like quitting isn't always a bad thing?
Again, Mary reading it was like, dang it, I love the fight sequences. But for the purpose of actually getting to film it and actually putting it to work, I was really, really, I'm going to try to do this without crying, proud and grateful. No, it's going to take a second.
It's okay. I understand.
Like, I think to me, the really exciting and important part was the scene in 13 getting to tell Daniel that she wasn't going to fight. Because we actually filmed another scene where Sam told Tori that didn't end up making it in the final cut, where she showed up and you said something of like, hey, why aren't you in a gi? And like passing the baton. And at first I was like, wait, we're missing that scene. And then I was like, oh, but I kind of love that maybe they had that off camera, or, but the one we have on camera is the conversation. To me, it feels like the healing of generational trauma. It's like literally showing the, as you said, it's passing the baton and then having it be able to hopefully be held higher, and in the hopes that, that lesson gets passed to Tori, and then Tori gets to pass it to the next kid that she inspires as she travels the world in karate competitions, and that keeps getting to get paid forward. The idea that, the whole point of learning karate for Samantha was never, it got so lost along the way, involved in a piece of metal rather than what it was supposed to be about. And for me, Mary, in my relationship with martial arts, what it's brought me in my life is a sense of purpose and self, and the whole point being to learn all of these skills, yes, but not for the purpose of like learning how to punch or learning how to kick, but to learn discipline and to learn self-assurance and to learn how to look after the person, even when they're on the other side from you and they're your opponent, how to predict their movements and then how to move your body. Those are all things that I think apply more to the world of the mental strength. The whole point is learning all of these physical skills so that hopefully you're smart enough to never have to use them.
Guess Miyagi University
I was going to say,
valedictorian.
it's so Miyagi.
I mean, come on.
Truly, such a beautiful answer, as always. Now I'm coming your way, Gianni and Jacob.
Oh,
for a little,
So you guys need tissues.
yeah.
Dude, give me my Christ.
Let's get you to tear up.
I need like a
over
lime here, man.
Did the two of you ever, even for a minute, think this show would end with the two of them parting ways and going to different schools, or did you always have a feeling that this was their end game?
I mean,
I never thought we would end separate.
yeah, I didn't, when it was like the plot of this season, I was like, oh shoot, okay, we're really going here, all right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I don't know, man. They're the binary bros. You can't really split them
I should
up.
have asked you this question earlier.
Yeah,
I've been stressing for I had to try to make peace that they were better off apart.
No, we're not though.
No, you're not.
I don't know. It's,
Yeah, I would have been really curious if the writers did say, hey, we are going to have you guys be apart
Yeah.
at the end of this. I think I genuinely would have asked them, are you, like, you're sure? Like, because that's not how I
You don't have to do this.
Yeah, like, at all.
don't do this
you
to
know?
I feel like the friendship though would still work even though they're like at different colleges, because I mean that was kind of the whole theme of this season, was them trying to work that out, and they kind of came to an agreement.
Yeah. And then we're like, we're still together. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's considering being apart, and by doing that, they learn they're better off together.
Together.
Sillier question now. So, at the beginning of these 5 episodes when they designed that fight system for the training,
Yeah.
if you two, as in real you, could reprogram that and fight like the movie or TV action star of your choice, who would you pick and why?
Oh, wow.
Anybody?
Well, I don't want to get beat up by my own machine.
No, we can program
mean,
it to be
To make us
whatever
win?
level.
I don't want to beat up my idol though. That's even sadder.
He's just gesturing to Ralph this entire time.
Sorry.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
It's Ralph Macchio in The Outsiders.
1,000%.
Post burn, I guess.
But he's oh my God. And he's in the hospital bed. Just one swim.
Before or after Stay Gold?
Dude, we just pulled him. The whole fight.
They've gone off the rails.
Clearly.
That's my answer. I don't know who.
Tom Hardy.
I mean,
Bane.
we've been talking about Jackie Chan this whole time.
It would be cool to fight Jackie Chan.
Yeah,
I would really have to turn his
his fighting.
his balance
prowess.
dial like
Give me
all the way.
10% of Jackie Chan.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
make it 50 minutes.
Just the left toe. I can try
Point
to.
is, you're
got
safe.
Nemo
You could
too.
fight anyone. I keep thinking I would probably turn it into a horror movie slasher because I know it'd be fine. But then I could like test my skills of surviving my favorite movie.
That would be so cool. Like maybe the machine gets broken and you're stuck in the simulation. Oh.
And now you're scared again.
Whoa. Okay, someone copyright that.
I know. That's a pretty good idea right there. Speaking of more good ideas, Ralph, I'm going to take you out of this particular question because I have to ask you about another movie you have coming up in a moment. But I know there's been some rumblings about possible spin-off series, and really, to me, it feels like every single one of your characters lands in a place where they could use what they've learned, but they have more growing to do, which really excites me. So is there any particular like quality or skill your character gained by the end of Cobra Kai that you would be most eager to play into more if you got to continue their journey?
What a question.
I feel like Sam,
So
in a way, like I know she has tried hard throughout the years to take her sensei's lessons to heart and to learn from them. But I've always felt that she has struggled to listen without the filter of her own ideals of how she can solve the problem all by herself. She's going to take it all on her shoulders and fix it in her mind. I would love to see her in a more vulnerable place, like where we seeing her going to Okinawa, being in the vulnerable place of truly being without Daniel, without now Johnny, without Chosen, you know, trying to navigate what it is to be somebody's student and not be somebody's priority student, but really be some at the bottom of the barrel trying to work her way back up, and that like level of vulnerability. I think I'd like to see her. I imagine someday she'd be maybe a really great sensei, but I think she would need to be like another different kind of really good student first.
I mean, I really liked seeing the bad boy side of Dimitri. His pompadour, his version of cool. There was like a scene where we're walking out and I had to have like a shaven chest. It was like a whole thing. I don't know. He went through it this season. I'd love to see that more. Kind of a cooler side of him. But he's always kind of stayed his nerdy self, which I also really liked. I really appreciated it. So yeah, maybe that.
I would like to just be there to watch.
Just watch it.
I know,
the
just
horror.
that college
Fairy
dynamic would
chest
be
or
fun.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, binary bows go to college.
That's a comedy movie in itself. I feel like
It really does sound like a fine title for a series.
Totally is.
Binary bros at college.
Enough said.
Binary Bros go to Vegas.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, your whole series.
They go to culinary school.
Go to White Castle.
Yeah.
Who wants to jump in next?
All of Mary's answer. And Miguel's there too.
I'm like, yeah, traveling to
babe.
Okinawa. You would learn a lot out there. You would learn so much.
I really do. I want to see where Robbie and Tori go together now that they're both finally in a good place. They've been in such a they've harped on kind of like both connecting where we're like, my life's terrible. My life is also terrible. So how do they connect now that their life has gotten better, and how do they turn that around and kind of change it and learn how to be successful and go through those kind of trials and tribulations of what it is to kind of do that, I guess. Just
Well,
see
they
them.
snap back and become a modern Bonnie and Clyde.
That would be pretty dope.
Wild heart across the
I watch all
country.
these versions.
They try to go straight.
I know
and be
Martin
good people,
Cove would
just-
love that show, and that would be his favorite show.
Start like an underground betting ring.
Dream come true.
Karate tournaments.
Wait, just briefly, Peyton, because you brought up Marty before I ask you the Karate Kid movie question. What was your reaction to finding out how Creese's storyline ended, and what, I guess, closure it gave to your character? Because, I don't know, at least from an outsider perspective, feels like landing it with Creese seemed like one of the most difficult things in terms of like not letting him off the hook, but giving him that sense of closure.
Absolutely. I really wasn't sure how they were going to do it, and they surprised me in a really good way yet again. But filming that scene where we look over at him and make eye contact is just so heartbreaking. And right then in that moment, looking over at him and really getting emotional is when I realized, oh, that's perfect. Yeah. You can mess up that many times, but he owned up to it.
It was so well done. I was so impressed by that and many other things. Ralph, now I got to ask you about Karate Kid Legends. I know you can't tell me any specifics, but
Tell her.
And the answer to this, I know,
They're
please.
dying to
Whatever
know.
she
The
wants
answer
to
to this
know.
admittedly might be no, but one thing I am curious about, after spending so many years playing this character in Cobra Kai realm, is there anything about playing him on a different set for a different director, possibly with a different style and tone that, you know, called for you to readjust in any sense?
Tell me, Mr. Macchio.
I think that this I'll say, where Daniel LaRusso lands at the end of Cobra Kai is the perfect setup for when we see him years later in the Karate Kid Legends movie, which is really ties into the mythology of the original Karate Kid franchise. New kid, new story, but the through lines and the themes and all those things that we know and love with just amazing action sequences and Jackie Chan and a great kid in Ben. I think it's a growth of 3 years. So when you think of the amount of time, what is the chronological time of Cobra Kai? Is it 2
About
years?
2 years.
I think it's 2 years.
2 years. So you figure, I think it's about 3 years past that. So look at look at the growth. Look at the growth in these 65 episodes. So we pick up at that point down the line, you know. So I will talk to you in a few months and we will go deep diving. But really exciting. Started this on the big screen. It's awesome to get back up on the big screen. But you know, this chapter, the celebration of Cobra Kai right now, is at the forefront of my mind, and I cannot wait for the world to see these final episodes because it ends like a big, fat, juicy 80s movie with the feels, cheers, and tears of through the Cobra Kai filter. I'm really proud of it. And all these guys, amazing, amazing.
Beautiful way to end the conversation. Again, thank you all so much for your time today and so much for 6 stellar seasons of this show that I've adored so much since the beginning. As a hardcore fan, it means the world to see how you saw it all through and brought such a beautiful sense of closure to all your characters. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Perri.
Perri.